Hello and welcome to the Carolina Snowflakes Podcast, where two Southerners come to terms with their liberal snowflake tendencies. We're your hosts. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jason. And we're here with this week's episode of the Carolina Snowflakes Podcast. This one's called R.I.P. Internet Explorer, because they're gonna give up the ghost to Internet Explorer. It's gonna be pushing up daisies. It's gonna be sleeping with the fishes.
That's right. Yes.
They're gonna be ending Internet Explorer pretty soon. It won't be whatever supported anymore or something.
Yeah, in May of this year, 2021, Microsoft announced that they will no longer be offering support for Internet Explorer starting June 15th, 2022.
Huh. I mean, it means it'll probably die even before then. Like, people are gonna jump off the sinking ship.
Well, let's be honest. It's been.
People have already jumped off of that sinking ship.
It's been dying for a really, really long time.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about, though, that it's going to be gone, that there's going to be no Internet Explorer.
It really is, just because it was that was the internet.
That was the internet button. Most
back
people
in the day for us.
They just called it the internet button.
Yeah, just click on the internet button, Grandma. You'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the internet for everyone. That's how everyone got online.
Oh, there was that in Netscape originally.
Well, yes, Netscape was late 90s, but by 2003, Internet Explorer was the most widely used web browser and had attained a peak of about 95% share usage.
Yeah, everybody used it, which is really nuts.
But compared to now in 2021, it's less than 0.5%.
I could imagine. I can't even imagine it's that high. I've never met anyone that's like, yeah, I still rock Internet Explorer.
Well, literally up until like the last couple of weeks, I still had to use Internet Explorer.
That's terrible.
For work.
I'm sorry.
There's like this one piece of equipment that I use on my job that the software was developed around Internet Explorer.
Wow.
And that was literally the only reason I still kept it on my computer, was because I had to have it.
Well, no longer.
No longer. They actually, are like, well, we've now created a Chrome extension that works with it.
Now, just to be in the Halloween theme of things, I would say that Internet Explorer, this is the position that it's in right now. It's teenagers drinking underage and having sex in a Friday the 13th movie. That's where
they're all about to die.
That's where Internet Explorer is at this particular moment.
Yeah.
And part of me, there is a little piece of me that's going to miss it because of the history I have attached with Internet Explorer. Some of our younger listeners might not have an attachment or an early memory of Internet Explorer, but we certainly do.
Yeah, I mean, that was how you got to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, apart from the dial-up, the AOLs.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get onto a browser, you clicked the little E.
I remember when search engines weren't even really a thing and keywords were a thing. So they didn't think people were going to be able to remember whole websites because you have to www dot.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, that's too much. And we didn't
Humans are dumb. We can't do this.
We didn't have search engines. So they were like, maybe what websites will do is they'll have keywords that they put in, and you can click the AOL button and type in like dogs, and all the websites that have tagged dogs will show up, and the most popular one will be at the top. It was the original idea of how they were going to organize search engines. Terrible idea, because if you let people put whatever keywords they want on their website, porn's gonna show up everywhere.
It's just gonna be dicks.
Yeah, it's just gonna be pictures of dicks everywhere, and that's what happened.
Did you know that, like, way back, early internet, everything was indexed by people?
Yeah.
Like, the internet, in the way that we think of it now, is like you go to Google and you search a thing. It was all sorted and indexed by hand.
By hand.
Like,
so whatever people wanted to call it.
Yeah.
This picture of a giraffe, we're going to say it's an elephant. And then now when you type elephant, this fucking giraffe's going to pop up.
Yes.
Because we said so.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a really bad idea, but like they had no way to know. We had faith in people back then.
Well, we also I think they didn't anticipate it being what it is now.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Now, if you don't know, our search engines actually like read the website, and like you can't trick Google into thinking your website is something other than it is.
Right. They have like the web crawlers and stuff that, automatically read and pull the websites that correspond with your search terms.
Right. Yeah. It's you can't fool it anymore like you could then. But it's interesting how it all started, because they were basically building it like they would build a library, I guess. Mm-hmm. The idea of like public cooperation. Yeah. That went out the window because America.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah, it was crazy to think that would work for very long, but it got us started.
It did. And by the way, so although Internet Explorer is going to be put to rest, RIP, they do have a replacement.
Yeah.
Microsoft Edge.
Oh, God. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit when you said Microsoft Edge. Oh, God, it's hard. It's hard to get that out. It uses Bing as like its default search.
It's so bad.
Bing.
Where, I have to know, like, how does Microsoft have the nerve to install Bing?
I don't know. I want to know. I want to ask our audience this. If you've never written into to any show before, I want you to write in. I want you to tell me, because I really want to know, if you use Bing, why?
Yeah.
Why do you use Bing?
Why? Have you ever used Bing just out of curiosity?
I think I looked at Bing and I went, this is terrible.
Oh, no, it's awful.
And I think I tried some searches on it and was like, this is terrible.
It doesn't.
Who would ever use this? It's slow.
It's slow to load.
It's
and
choppy.
Then what it pulls up is not related usually to anything that you just searched.
And there's no like images tab or any of that stuff that makes sense, like with Google.
No.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think like for a search engine, it really should be there was a time when Google was perfect. It just isn't anymore. It's gotten shitted up. But there was a time when Google was perfect. Like you went in, you typed your search, and all it showed you was the appropriate results. And there weren't any stupid ads.
Yeah. And
you only had like news and images tabs, and that was like it.
Right.
And now it's got all kinds of shopping and bullshit.
And you can pay to have your own website up towards the top. And of course, they have the thing now where Google populates the answers right in the main screen to keep people from clicking the link to go to the actual website.
It's stupid.
Dirty. Whatever. But that's,
stupid. I think, but there was a time when Google was perfect. Like it was just the search box, and you typed in what you wanted to find, and it only gave you the results and no other bullshit. Mm-hmm. It was great. It was like what you would design for, like, say, a public library. Mm-hmm. It was a system like that, but we don't do anything. We don't keep anything like that anymore. And you end up with Bing. That's the crap you end up with.
Bing.
Google's in the middle of that now. I mean, they're in between where the goodness that they used to be and Bing. They're still better than Bing, but I mean, Jesus.
Well, before Bing and even before Google.
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, I was like trying to think of like what were the search engines.
There was one called Ask Jeeves, and the whole concept was like, it's a butler, right? Like this butler's going to go around.
It was supposed to be your internet butler.
Yeah, my internet butler's going to go around and like find the websites for me, like I'm Uncle Phil and it's Jeffrey.
There was another one called Alta Vista.
Yeah, that was the one I loved.
Yeah.
Alta Vista was the search engine that I used. It was the most like Google is now.
Yeah.
It was the best for a while.
And then there was always like Yahoo
and Web Crawler. It was
called. Do you remember Yahoo Answers?
Oh God, Yahoo Answers was the dumbest thing in the world.
Oh God,
it still exists.
Bad. Does it?
It still exists.
Really?
Yeah, and it still has the dumbest shit ever on it.
Like,
you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when you go to Yahoo Answers.
How would you explain Yahoo Answers to like, I don't know, a Gen Zer?
I mean, Gen Zers have been around the internet long enough. They would know if I said, it was a website where anybody could post a question and anybody else could post a response. And they didn't have to be a professional of any kind. It was just Joe Blow could answer your questions.
And people were asking some like really serious questions.
Yeah, and it wasn't like Reddit where it was cultivated and made up over time.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
voting.
like moderated.
No, it was
by
just a completely
community.
open system where anyone could ask and anyone could answer
you could
anything.
Ask anything.
And it turned into the exact shit show you would imagine it would.
And anyone could answer.
Yeah.
And then it was kept.
Yeah, and it was
available for others to read.
And trolls would upvote all the worst answers.
The worst answers.
So when you would Google or go to Yahoo and Yahoo something, you would just get the worst answers. You'd be like, what size wrench do I need to remove the carburetor from my 1962 Buick Skylark? And it would be like, kill yourself.
And that would be the upvoted.
That'd be the number one response. And it's like...
It was so bad.
That was Yahoo Answers.
I know. I was there.
Yeah.
I remember it.
And people would post really personal shit. Like, I got this weird thing on the tip of my penis. It's like a mark. And like, I'm nervous about it and I don't want to go anywhere. And people are like, it's definitely cancer. They're going to have to chop your dick off.
Your dick's probably going to fall off.
Yeah. And that'd be the number one answer upvoted. And it's from like some guy named like Mark69. Thanks, Mark.
Yes, you summed it up.
That was Yahoo Answers.
Perfectly. Thank you.
So like Yahoo is still kind of a thing though. Like Yahoo Answers, some of that shit's still up. And it's so funny because you can look at Yahoo Answers and it'll be like from 2008. And that shit's still there, like from 2006.
I was going to say, I think even earlier than that.
And it's still there. And you're like, how does this still exist? Like in the digital universe somewhere? Or why?
Yeah, why is it still there?
Think about this. As a species, we are burning carbon to create power to save Mark 69's response on Yahoo Answers.
Here's a fun little factoid for you about that. So, speaking of carbon usage when you're Googling.
Yeah.
1,000 Google searches is approximately the equivalent of if you were to get in your car and drive a little over a mile.
Huh. That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's also pretty interesting that I learned? This is true. If you run your leaf blower for 30 minutes, so a regular two-stroke leaf blower engine, you run that thing for 30 minutes, that's the same amount of carbon pollution as if you rented a car, a Ford F-150, and you drove it from Savannah, Georgia to Juneau, Alaska. That is the same amount of carbon that comes out of 30 minutes of running a leaf blower.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
Just a little two-stroke.
Yeah, just because those little two-stroke engines release a lot, because it burns oil.
Oh, right.
It's burning oil at the same time as the gasoline, so it's like way, way worse.
Yeah, and they don't have like emissions inspections for your leaf blower.
They're going to. It's going to have to be a thing that we change. We're going to be moving to electric ones, I think.
Yeah, probably.
But that was an aside, but it's an interesting one.
Interesting for sure.
Yeah. So the more you know.
Huh.
Stick with us and you'll learn nice, interesting facts like that one in the middle of rants about Internet Explorer.
I wonder what Yahoo Answers would have said.
Who knows?
Go kill yourself.
It would have said, go leaf blow yourself. Oh. So what I think is interesting is that there was shit before Yahoo is what I was getting at. Like, Yahoo was one of my original memories of the internet. But Yahoo News is still a thing. It's garbage, but people still look at it because...
Yeah.
People don't change, I guess.
Habits.
Yeah. Old habits die hard. Yahoo News used to be like the tabloid of the internet, and it still kind of is. And now it's cluttered up with ads, and it's shitty. But there was stuff before Yahoo. There was like GeoCities.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. GeoCities. Because, I mean, before you just went online and search for things, you went to websites. Yeah,
you had to go to a website.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of just searching for whatever you wanted wasn't really a thing. You had to find a website that might have information.
Right.
Or it might not.
Or it just might be a mess.
It was kind of great, though. I kind of missed that.
The wild west of the internet.
I loved it. GeoCities was like a website where anybody could you basically could HTML code whatever you wanted to for free.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, close to for free, and then they realized they could make some money off of it and started charging people for hosting. But yeah, I mean, it opened up the world of having your own website.
Mm-hmm.
Literally anyone could make their own website.
I had one.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I think mine was Angel Fire.
Yeah, it was Angel Fire and GeoCities were like the two primary hosts for like DIY websites. And the thing about them that was so glorious was just the hideousness of like, this is what you get when you allow humans
to do whatever they want.
You give them free range to just create their own art.
I would like to describe for you my first GeoCities or my first Angel Fire website that I remember the most, the one I worked the hardest on.
Okay.
And I think a description of this would be typical of what you would see. So Slipknot was new at the time. They were very, very popular. And if you're familiar with the band Slipknot, there's like 9 people in that band, and they all wear costumes.
Mm-hmm.
They wear masks. So I had pictures of all of them, like that I put in with some weird filter on it so that it looked different. And it was tiled on the background, like just that was the background. It was just pictures of the members of Slipknot. And then bright white texts in the foreground with a yellow outline.
Yeah.
That was just lyrics to Slipknot songs. That was all it was.
Mm-hmm.
But not in any particular order, not named, just random lyrics.
Right, not organized.
And different font sizes and different fonts on top of pictures of the band. Yeah. And then I took like a 14-second clip from the CD of one of the heavy beats, and it just looped over.
That was, and the other thing.
Sparkles flew off your mouse as you moved it down the website, and that was it. That was the entire website.
God, I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, no copyright, no credit to Slipknot. I don't even think I mentioned that it was even a Slipknot website. It was just there.
Yeah, and people would do, and like I can remember, like people would have like yellow backgrounds with white font, and it, like streaming stars glittering down the screen the whole time, and then music, the most god awfulest music playing, and you're like clicking, trying to figure out how to turn it off in a panic, loops. And it just keeps going, and you could do it yourself.
Yep,
because that was sort of like I said, the Wild West, and that was when the start of us learning HTML.
Yeah, it was funny. Everybody used these tiled backgrounds, but see, everyone has different display resolutions. So like you would look at it on a different computer and your website would look completely different. Everything would be formatted differently. There was no optimization back then. And people didn't really understand that like other people were using different resolutions.
Yeah, that would not have registered. So you just assumed that however you saw it
was how it looked.
Was just how it looked.
That it's locked in.
But the reality
it was nothing like that.
So much worse.
Oh yeah.
It was so much worse. But there's a bit of nostalgia there. Just for that whole kind of, like I said, having to learn HTML, that was a thing. Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
We are of a certain age where we remember life before the internet.
Yeah.
And then we also are living life very much on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And so we were kind of there for that awkward teenage puberty internet time.
It was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
In some ways, I really liked the creativity that went into it. Like everybody, it was like you gave everybody this blank canvas and just what are they going to put on there? Yeah. And that was pretty cool. It still kind of exists on the dark web, and I know I've talked about the dark web before, but if you're out there, it makes me feel good to know that somewhere out there's websites like that still exist.
Yeah, I would say probably the dark web is the closest sort of like comparison to the way the internet used to be.
Exactly. And doesn't it make you a little bit happy to know that somewhere out there in digital cyberspace that shit still exists?
I mean, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, it's like cave paintings. So. Yeah, it's like cave paintings. It's just good to know it exists still.
We were Neanderthaling around on the internet back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And we made our cave paintings on GeoCities.
And I think there's something like basic human about it that I like.
It's very basic. It's very basic.
It was exactly what we wanted to do at the time. I know for me, I thought it was magic. I mean, it felt like magic. Like I can do this and anyone can see it. It was the coolest thing in the world to me. I instantly knew that computers and the internet were the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
I just liked learning. I liked being able to learn how to make a thing look a certain way.
And then when you got it, you felt like this.
Yeah, so literally learning HTML and how to like plug in the codes for certain colors or certain fonts. Or adding images. Because, I mean, today you can just go to whatever you're doing and you just click add an image. But way back then.
No, you had to type a bracket.
You had to code it in. Yeah. And then going and refreshing and seeing what it looked like. And you're like, I did that.
I did it.
And it was hideous. But you did it. You learned how to do it.
And like theoretically, if you coded it in HTML, any browser could read it. But that didn't matter because everyone used one browser. So as far as we knew, it would only work there. But who cares?
Who cares? And nobody was looking at things on their phone at that point. That was not even thought of.
And what's really weird is I never spent a lot of time surfing around other people's GeoCities or Angel Fires. You'd get linked to them. Someone would send them to you as a link, and that's how you would see them. But I don't think anybody just browsed them.
No, that's not true. Now, GeoCities did eventually get around to like indexing.
Oh, did they?
So you could just go to the main site, and if there was like a topic you were interested in, you could click it, and it would take you to a listing of personal websites that people had that interest.
I remember a thing called loops they used to do. Do you remember loops?
Loops, no.
So there would be a topic like, say you were interested in juggling. This is one that happened to me. I'm a juggler. I like juggling. I was very interested in learning about juggling in early internet days. And I would be a member. You would click on this thing. You go to the website, and at the bottom it would say juggling loop, next site. And if you clicked the arrow, it would take you to the next site that was related to juggling. And they were all linked together. So they would create a loop that you could literally go through to find all the different websites. They would be trusted. And once you were trusted, they would let you into the loop. And so they had that for all kinds of different topics, which was a really good idea. It was a really brilliant workaround at the time.
Yeah, kind of similar. I mean, was that the GeoCities or was that Angel Fire?
But they both did that. Okay. And a lot of the, like I said, a lot of the like learning type, before YouTube was the way you learned everything, the learning type websites there was another one for Rubik's Cubes that I like Rubik's Cubes. So like I was learning about them, and there was a Rubik's Loop, and it was just different websites about Rubik's Cubes.
Right.
I thought it was pretty cool. It was a good idea. I actually kind of missed that.
Yeah.
Because we don't have anything like that anymore. But it was like community websites. Like they were like, yeah, we really love Rubik's Cubes, and we have this website dedicated to Rubik's Cubes. And then we find these other people who really like it too, and their website's also really cool. We should join forces. Which I thought, I missed that. It was super cool.
Super nerdy.
Yeah, for those particular subjects I picked, I guess it was. Yeah. But I mean, they had one for like, famous people or whatever.
Yeah, and people spent hours.
I'm sure there was a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen loop. They weren't all Rubik's Cubes and...
People spent hours and hours and hours of their time making and cultivating their websites. And putting all the information that they knew or had read or found on their sites.
I thought that was so cool.
It was pretty neat. And then there was also just the phenomenon of pre-social media social media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, GeoCities was, but there were other things too. There were the forums.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but this was long before MySpace and Facebook. I spent lots of my internet time in forums.
Yep.
It was, you had an interest, say it was like music or whatever. You would go to a website that you found out about, and it would be a forum.
And you'd pick your little avatar and your name, and
create a profile,
Yep.
and you would post, and you would meet people on the forums.
That was how it started.
That was basically social media before there was social media.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they knew it was going to work because it blew up. People did it on their own. That's the thing about this. So all this organization that was happening, it wasn't like people were getting paid.
No.
People just tend to do these things.
All the forums that I frequented were independently run. Like the people running them had real jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They weren't doing that for a living.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very different from how it is now. And then the social media did come. And I remember like my very first social media profile was on Friendster.
Yeah.
Do you remember Friendster?
Oh, yeah. I do remember
so
Friendster.
Stupid.
That was the proto MySpace.
It was. It was. I went from Friendster to MySpace and then to Facebook.
Which is announced they're going to be changing their name.
Yeah. Well, I think they're not changing like the Facebook name. They're changing something about like the company name.
Right. The name of the company. Like Google's owned by Alphabet.
Right.
It's going to be like that. But the reason they're doing it, I'm just putting this out there, is so that Mark Zuckerberg can basically say, that's a question for the CEO of Facebook. I don't know. I'm the CEO of whatever, Meta or whatever they're going to call it.
I suggested they call it MySpace.
Yeah, or MySpace. Get Tom involved.
I miss Tom.
Yeah. Well, I think what it's going to be, it's like a shield for Mark so that he can pawn off questions he doesn't like onto another CEO.
Yeah, because he's tired of sweating during interviews.
It basically just opens up more positions for them to fill in Facebook to get filters between the media and Mark. So basically,
it's the way to create a buffer.
Yeah, he can just throw human shields in front of him. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I know.
It's gross.
It is pretty gross.
Yeah.
And then, so we had the Friendster and then that progression to what is now Facebook. But there were also, blogging and journaling. There were live journal and
Live
WordPress
Journal
sites.
You want to know something interesting about Live Journal? That was actually humongous in Russia. The Russian version of Live Journal was huge. And actually, in in Russia, I learned this. I thought it was really interesting. It was like revolutionary. So the government tried to crack down on it, but the servers were outside of Russia, and for a long time, like the free press was on LiveJournal in Russia. It was considered to be like the legit news.
How interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Good for them, though, for finding a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But I know LiveJournal was very popular.
It was.
Here in the U.S.
It was.
I was a rebel, however, and instead of a live journal, I had a dead journal.
A dead journal. Oh.
Dead journal was the alternative.
The alternative. How stupid.
I know. I loved it. I used to write in my dead journal all the time.
Yeah.
It was pretty great. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually really interested to hear about your early internet experiences and like what they were like, or what it was like when you very first got on the internet. But I'll give you some time to think, and I'll tell you a story about early internet from me.
Okay.
So this is a story time with Jason. This one I'm proud of. This is a story I'm proud of. So you remember AOL chat, right? Like it was.
Oh yeah.
It was a thing. You could go into groups and
they had topics for everything by age, by location. Yeah.
And so I was on the South Carolina. I think I was might have even been in the Anderson one. I don't know. I was a teenager at this time. I think I was probably 18, maybe 19. And I'm on this chat room just talking to random people, and I get a direct message from this girl, and she says, hey, what's going on? And I start talking to her. We were just chit-chatting about like regular stuff, and she, does the, where do you live? And I kind of told her where I lived.
You mean ASL?
Yeah, the ASL. And we were talking, and it was a pretty normal conversation, and I was kind of half paying attention, doing other things. My chat was like bing, 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 it was whatever. And this girl starts like kind of flirting with me and everything. And I was like 19, I was single or whatever. I was like, this is pretty cool. I might have even been younger. I might have been 17. I really don't know. But I remember her being like, listen, if we're going to meet up, like, do you want to meet up? And me being like, oh, hell yeah, cool. And then her being like, if we're going to meet up, I'm going to have to tell you this. Like, I'm 14.
Ooh.
And I was like, I just remember like reeling, like going back in my chair and be like, holy shit. I didn't realize this person I was talking to, like this was before To Catch a Predator.
Yeah, it was before Chris Hansen was on the scene.
It was before any of that, or that I knew about any of that. I was pretty young, but I knew it was bad.
Yeah, you were like no.
I immediately knew it was bad, and I typed, don't ever talk to me again, ban. Yeah. And like that was it. I'm very proud of that story.
Yeah, good for you.
Because I did the right thing, but
you
it was
didn't get TCAP'd.
I didn't tell anybody about it for a long time because I was scared I was going to get some kind of trouble. I didn't say anything to her that would have been bad, but she was being really like coming on to me like she wanted to do some kind of sexy sexy internet chats.
So probably either she was a dude.
Yeah.
Or she was the cops.
I know. That's what, in hindsight, I figure it was one of those two things. But at the time, all I knew was it was scary. I was really fucking scared. I remember just like looking out the window, like waiting for cops to pull up. Like, I knew the shit was bad. It's really funny in hindsight.
Right.
Because like now I know it was probably a dude, like you said. It was probably just some dude.
Yeah.
But at the time I was fucking scared.
Yeah.
So that was an early experience I had with AOL chat.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't get TCAP'd.
Yeah, me too. It would have been terrible. Did you have any early internet experiences like that?
Not quite like that. I mostly just used the internet both for connecting with people. I did do a lot of chatting. I was either on like AOL. In college, I was the first freshman class that was required to use or to have computers.
Yeah.
In our dorm rooms, and so we all used AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah.
All my friends and dorm mates and all that stuff. So like that was kind of a thing. And then also Yahoo and ICQ.
Yeah.
Like I was all up in the chat world. And if I wasn't chatting in the chat world, then I was on Napster.
Napster.
Downloading music.
Yeah.
Like constantly. I had so many songs on my computer. It was
that
great.
was illegal.
It was legal at the time.
Yeah.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah. Till Lars Ulrich decided to make it illegal.
Till Lars came along and ruined everything. But yeah, honestly, my internet experience was a lot of that. Was downloading from Napster and chatting online.
Yeah. Well, see, I have one more story that's related to chatting online. This one, not so much I'm proud of, more embarrassing.
Oh, okay.
This one starts with an online video game. So there was a video game that was online that I started playing. This was before World of Warcraft, but it was Final Fantasy online. And I was online and I became friends with this person, this girl, and we would chat all night, and I'd chat to her quite a bit for a long time. For like, a month or two, like stay up real late chatting with this girl.
Yeah, I mean, when you're
really cool.
When you're 17, a month is a really long time.
Yeah, I was like, this girl's really cool. I like talking to her. She's like from Colorado or something, it was like, whatever, it's pretty cool.
And she liked the same game you like.
And yeah, and we would stay up chatting and like not even playing. We would just sit and chat and everything. And it was like really cool. And then one day she was being like really weird. Like I was like, she didn't want to talk to me or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I don't understand this, but I'm just going about my business. So I just play the game. And then I get a message from somebody. It's like, listen, I'm friends with whatever the chick's name was, like Sarah or Christine or whatever her name was. I don't even remember. But like, I need you, she wants you to know something. And I was like, okay, she's a dude.
No.
She's like some gay dude from Colorado or whatever. And she knows that you think she's a girl. And I was like, yeah, that's fucked up. He never told me that, bro.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I was like, part of me was like pissed off that like somebody would do that. But then another part of me was like, how fucking gullible am I? Where I thought that some chick was like playing this game and was like gonna stay up all night chatting with some random fucking dude from across the country. So I learned a valuable lesson at that time, I think. And that was that like most of the people on the internet that say they're girls are dudes.
Yeah.
It's a valuable lesson.
That is, that's a valuable one.
Yeah. And so like I never really talked to him again. Like I was like, fuck you, I'm done. Out skis.
You lied.
Yeah. And I still feel valid about that. I've at the time, I guess it was probably some homophobia, but in hindsight, I think back on it, I'm like, you can't establish even a friendship based on a lie like that.
That's true, especially if the person was telling you one thing, but then was not.
No,
that.
like he was clearly saying he was a girl and talking about like being a girl and like saying like, yeah, I been.
But their friend told you he's a dude for sure,
and he wanted to tell you, but was scared, so he kept pretending to be a girl for the last like month. Yeah, because you just. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those where I was just like, well, that's fucked up. And like, I can't even be friends with somebody who would start our relationship off on such a gigantic lie.
Mm-hmm.
And who repeatedly lied to me. Like, why would I believe anything this person ever says ever again?
Did they have pictures or anything like that? Like catfish type stuff?
No, everything was in game. The only thing it was just what she told me or what the chat was. Like, I didn't go outside of the video game.
Okay, I see.
But it was a little part of me was like heartbroken because I was like, there was this chick out there that I thought was cool.
You thought she was so cool.
And now I'm realized it's just some dude who did this.
It's a dude.
And probably does it pretty often. I imagine that person probably still does that.
That sounds like maybe some like closeted discomfort in who they are.
Yeah, but more mature me also sees it as like, they probably had a more fucked up life than I even know about. So like, it's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel justified in being like, I couldn't have even maintained a friendship with somebody like that.
Right, because it started with a lie.
Such a big one.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how like your kid brain is so different from your adult brain? Your adult brain's able to look back at that and kind of piece together that person may have had some problems. Yeah. But when you're 16, 17, it's very much of like, what?
Yeah.
No. Go away, you lied.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, also like, I'm not like, what the fuck? Did you think you were going to convert me? Because like, that wasn't going to happen. So like, I don't even know what the point of all that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have been on Catfish.
Yeah.
But this was before that.
Yeah, catfish wasn't even a term at that point.
Right,
like,
it wasn't.
That wasn't even like, I mean, it was happening, but nobody called it catfishing.
Yeah. And just as a final story.
Oh, no.
This one is related, but it's different. So one night I used to use my recliner for my computer chair because I just thought it was cool. I had a recliner. I liked it. It was a lazy boy. I had a nice recliner.
So you had like a computer at a desk. But instead of a computer chair, you sat in a recliner?
A recliner. And I put a board across my lap with the keyboard and mouse on it.
Oh,
so I could like lean back.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and like I had a big monitor. And I was sitting in my recliner one day. It was late at night, and I was wearing just my boxers. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see something fall down from the ceiling towards my leg, and I feel something land on my leg. And I look down, and it's the biggest fucking wolf spider I've ever seen in my entire life. A humongous wolf spider is on my knee. And I swat it, and 1,000 babies jump off its back and land all over me. Yeah. At like 1 a.m, in my boxers in a recliner. Covered in baby spiders.
Oh, God.
I freak out. I wake up everybody in the house.
Screaming.
I basically took all like towels and clothes and like sealed off the door, and I slept downstairs for like 3 days. I just quarantined the room, just like that room's done. Wash my hands.
That room does not exist any longer.
Yeah, I still have nightmares where that shit happens. Like
So I don't know what I would do.
Where a spider falls on me and then its babies jump off all over me. I still have nightmares about it.
That's a Stephen King story.
That happened to me. It's a real story. And I was in my boxers. Like there was only a thin sheet of fabric between them and me. And the most important part of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a true story. And that's in that same time period. That happened in the exact same time frame.
Wow.
Yeah.
The internet.
Yeah. Baby spiders will jump out all over you.
Am I right?
Yeah.
We've been through some shit.
I really have. So that was my war stories from the early internet. I think those stories are a proper eulogy for our good friend Internet Explorer that's going away.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Internet Explorer. You have been there for us through thick and thin, and you were also a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So, what's not a piece of shit is this podcast. And there's a lot of episodes of it on the current internet that's way better. And you can find those on our website.
CarolinaSnowflakes.com.
And while Facebook's still called Facebook and not MySpace.
Or whatever.
You can find us on there and meet with other people that are fans of the show.
Facebook.com/Carolina Snowflakes.
And I would really, really love to hear from you if you use Bing. I'm very serious. I really want to know what Bing does for you. I'm curious. I'm not being sarcastic. I really want to know. So send me an email and tell me.
Carolina Snowflakes at gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
Thanks for listening. Bye.